Okay, good morning. We are doing today the 7th chapter of Yesode HaTora, followed immediately almost by a second flow on the 8th chapter. These two chapters deal with the subject of prophecy, and specifically the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu, which, in addition to being a very, very interesting theological subject and a very interesting belief that we have under the Torah, it also is the most important basis for Judaism. It's the Yesod on which the Torah is built. If we did not have prophecy, if we did not have Nebuah, or if the Nebuah of Moshe Rabbeinu was not what we believe it is, then pretty much the Torah doesn't make much sense. Doesn't make much sense to follow. הלכה א', מיסודי הדת, לידע שהאל מנבא את בני האדם. It's one of the principles of our law to know that God can activate the human consciousness in order to bring about a certain message. When הנבואה חלה, נבואה, which means prophecy, נבואה cannot befall other than אלא על חכם גדול בחוכמה גיבור במידותיו ולא יהיה יסרו מתגבר עליו בדבר בעולם אלא הוא מתגבר בדעתו על יסרו תמיד. On someone that has these three characteristics, number one, he is חכם גדול, two characteristics, חכם גדול בחוכמה, he is a very wise person filled with wisdom, גיבור במידותיו, someone who is 100% in control over his instincts, his attitudes, his mind. There is nothing in this world, no instinct, no desire, no inclination, no drive that can determine his choices, but rather he himself, his choice-making self, is so developed that he's totally free to choose. Through his mind, he's able to make choices despite what his yesod, his instinct, might drive him to do. And not only is he חכם גדול בחוכמה, a wise person who was great wisdom, but also he has דעה רחבה נכונה עד מאוד. He has a very expansive awareness of the world around him. He understands a lot of subjects and a lot of different things, but also nechona ad meod. But not only a jack of all trades and expert in none, he's baal de'ah rechava, but also nechona ad meod, also very, very precise knowledge base. So is this all? A person who is a great hacham and gibor midotav, is this person going to receive nevuah? No, this is just one of the prerequisites. A person who is filled, invested with this characteristic, shalem berufo, and at the same time, he also is wholesome in his physical body. Physical health is important. I'll say a word or two about that in a minute. When this person starts exploring these topics which we discussed in chapters 1 through 4, which are called pardes, and he starts exploring these very far away matters, these matters dealing with things very distant from physical reality. And he has a knowledge base and an awareness that is correct, it's precise. He has very correct epistemology, lehavin ulhasig, in order to be able to comprehend and to grasp. והוא מתקדש והולך פורש מדרכי קהילה לעם ההולכים למחשקי הזמן, and at the same time he consistently and constantly improves his behavior and distinguishes himself in his behavior in a way that is not what everyone else is doing, everyone who is subject to routine and to the day-to-day, והולך, מזרז עצמו, ומלמד נפשו שלא תהיה לו מחשבה כלל באחד מדברים בטלים, and he further goes now and disciplines his mind to not think about anything that he doesn't want to think about. So just to make it even clearer, Harambam here is talking of a dual track the whole time. One on the one hand, Chokhmah, improving and increasing the intellectuality, the intellectual abilities and awareness and grasp, and at the same time, on the other hand, to also improve one's behavior and develop a very, very sophisticated discipline. And right now we are merging both, and this discipline and behavior will attach to the mind. In other words, not only does this person choose what to do and what not to do, but this person now chooses what to think and what not to think. ולא מהבלי הזמן ותחבולותיו, אלא דעתו תמיד פנויה למעלה. So if this person disciplines himself so much that he is no longer thinking about any mundane thing, and his mind is totally free to whenever he wants to start contemplating about those things beyond our reach. כשורה תחת הכיסא, this is now it's an expression that's borrowed. It's tied under the throne of God, as if it were his mind is constantly thinking about God. להבין באותן הצורות הקדושות הטהורות, to try to understand those other beings that are more distinguished and purer than we are, namely the angels. ומסתכל בחוכמתו של הקדוש ברוך הוא כולها, and he's able to contemplate on God's wisdom كلها, holistically, in a holistic way, what Germans call Gestalt. You know, this is a very important point in the Torah. We don't look at things outside the context. We actually believe that everything is created by the same creator, therefore everything is interrelated somehow. So this person, he is now in his endeavors, he's contemplating upon the wisdom of God holistically, everything. Mitzura Rishona, starting from the highest form of Malachim, of angels, the Hayot HaKodesh, Ad Tabur Ha'aretz, until the bottomest part of the earth, in other words, the lowliest of the low, V'yodea mehem godlo, and from those he appreciates God's greatness. Again, it's not knowing physics or knowing astronomy or even knowing about the Malachim for the sake of knowing. It's not what you know, but firstly, it's how you know it, and secondly, is how you read what you know. So if you read creation to signify God, you're on the right track. Miyad, then as a consequence, miyad does not mean immediately, miyad means as a consequence. Ruach HaKodesh shora alav. Something that is called Ruach HaKodesh, it's the kind of inspiration that used to be found in the Kodesh. The Kodesh is the Bet HaMikdash. It happened that whenever someone went to the Bet HaMikdash with the right attitude, the right approach, thinking of the right things, allowing certain triggers that the Bet HaMikdash was designed to have to penetrate one's mind, especially one's subconscious. An example of that is Hannah, the mother of Shmuel. So if you walk into the Kodesh, you get a certain super normal, supernatural inspiration that you wouldn't get just by sitting down and thinking. This Ruach HaKodesh, this supernatural inspiration, Shora Alav, immediately lies upon this person. So this person, not only does he have these qualifications of Hacham and Gibor, but also he goes through the Pardes and through the right process, he reads the Pardes the right way, then this person is guaranteed to have Ruach HaKodesh. Ruach HaKodesh is the same kind of inspiration you could get by going to the Bet HaMikdash with the right mindset. Gimal. ובעת שתנוח עליו הרוח תתערב נפשו במעלת המלאכים הנקראים אישים ויהפך לאיש אחר. And as the person receives this inspiration, this Ruach HaKodesh, his mind or his being is going to be upgraded to the level of the 10th kind of angels we described, the ones that are called Ishim, whose level is close to human beings. And he will know there's going to be a transformation. Knowledge has the effect when it's the right kind of knowledge, especially when you reach the limits of knowledge, it has the effect of transforming the person. So he's going to know he's a different person. He's going to understand that he is not what he used to be. He's a different person. Rather, he's now upgraded and has gone beyond the level of just wise persons. He's not just a wise man. He's something above that. He thinks, he has a perspective, he has a vantage point on life, on the world, that is above the regular human vantage point. As it was said about Shaul, when Shemuel led him through a very similar process before becoming king of Israel, the very first king we had, Shemuel tells him, you're going to join these prophet apprentices that I have. You're going to join them in this activity of Nebu'ah, and then you're going to transform to a different person, making the point that this experience, even at the lowest level, which is Ruach HaKodesh, can convert a person to a different person. ד' הנביאים מעלות הן כמו שיש בחוכמה חכם גדול מחברו, כך בנבואה נביא גדול מנביא. The prophets are not all the same level, just like there is different levels in wisdom. Not everyone is as wise as every other wise person. So too, prophets can achieve greater degrees of prophecies than other prophets. וכולן אין רואים מראה הנבואה אלא בחלום בחזיון הלילה וביום אחר שתיפול עליהם חתימה. And what's common to all of them is that the visions of prophecy that the prophets see happen at night, בחלום בחזיון הלילה, in a night vision, in other words, in a special kind of a dream, or if it is during the day, only after they lose control of their bodies and go into some kind of a trance, fall asleep. כמו שנאמר, as the Torah says about Nevi'im, במראה אליו אתוודה, that every prophet, God says to Miriam and Aaron, I reveal myself to the prophets במראה through a vision, בחלום אדבר בו, and I talked to him, to any prophet, through the dream, through a dream. וכולן כשהם מתנבאים, and all of them, as they are having prophecy, איבריהם מזדעזעים בכוח הגוף כושל. They lose control of their limbs. The limbs start shaking. In other words, there is no muscle control. And the strength of the body leaves. ועשתונותיהם מתטרפות. And their instincts, their senses go a little off. In other words, they don't know where they are. They can't stand erect. They don't have a balance. ותישאר הדעה פנויה להבין מה שתראה. All of this to free up, as if it were a ram in the mind, to be able to receive and to understand that which it is being shown. כמו שנאמר באברהם, as about Abraham it's said, והנה אימה חשיכה גדולה נופלת עליו, and behold, a great terror, a great darkness befell him. In other words, Abraham suddenly in the middle of the day started seeing dark, started feeling the same way we feel when there is a great terror, where adrenaline overflows our body and we no longer control what we're doing. וכמו שנאמר בדניאל, and as it is said with Daniel, I want to just point out as a footnote, this is the second time Rambam brings Daniel as an example of a prophet and describing what happens to prophets, although Harambam says elsewhere that Daniel was not a prophet. Daniel says, and my clarity, my awareness, my sense of knowing what's going on uh, turned into itself within me and was ruined. And I felt like I had no strength anymore. Very vivid description of this kind of phenomenon. הדברים שמודיעים לנביא במראה הנבואה, things that a Navi is shown in a prophetic vision. דרך משל מודיעין לו. Everything that's shown is as a metaphor. ומיד, and as a consequence of that, subsequently, יחקק בליבו פתרון המשל במראה הנבואה וידע מהו. In that same vision, his mind is going to interpret it. So a Navi sees an image, and his mind, within that same vision, processes that image and makes sense of that, imbues it with meaning. כמו הסולם שראה יעקב אבינו, an example of an image in a prophetic vision would be the ladder that was seen by Yaakov, ומלאכים עולים ויורדים בו, with the angels going up and down. Another footnote, angels in the Tanakh, according to Harambam, are always an indication that whatever episode is happening as a prophetic vision. והוא היה משל למלכיות, and what this came to symbolize, the angels coming up and down the ladder, are the civilizations and how civilizations act as angels of God, and the fact that Rome climbs up the ladder of history and then falls, the Roman Empire, that's part of God's guiding history, and they are carrying out God's will, whether they know it or not. ושיעבודן, וכמו החיות שראה יחזקאל, and like the angels, these creatures that Yehezkel saw in his vision, והסיר הנפוח, and this boiling pot, ומקל שקד, and the flourishing piece of the flourishing branch שראה ירמיה, that ירמיהו הנביא saw, the Megillah שראה יחזקאל, also the parchment that Yehezkel saw that he had to eat in this prophetic vision, והאפה שראה זכריה, and this weight that Zechariah saw. I am sure that Harambam was very deliberate in the order in which he brought these prophecies, especially because Yehezkel is brought twice and out of order. I don't know what the order means, but I just want to point this out if anyone has any thoughts about this. וכן שאר הנביאים, יש מהן אומרים המשל ופתרונו כמו אלו, ויש מהן אומרים הפתרון בלבד. And also the other prophets. And when they record these prophecies for us, for posterity in the Tanakh, sometimes they'll tell us just the vision, sometimes they'll tell the vision with the interpretation, sometimes they'll tell us the interpretation alone, and sometimes they'll only tell us the vision without telling us what it means. Like some of the things Yehezkel and Zechariah said, I think by Zechariah he means all the prophecies about what's going to happen at the end of days. V'chulam, in all of these prophecies, or all of these things that were said by the prophets that we have in the Tanakh, v'chulam, in all of the prophets, b'mashal b'derech hidah hem mitnabbeim. What they do have in common, again, is that they see things as a mashal or as a hidah. A mashal is a parable, and a hidah is some kind of a riddle. It's some kind of there is a difference between mashal and hidah in whether the actual metaphor is meaningful as well or not, or if it's only the meaning that we are trying to get. כל הנביאים אין מתנבאים בכל עת שירצו. What also all prophets have in common is that they cannot just prophesize whenever they want. אלא מכוונים דעתן ויושבים שמחים וטובי לב ומתבודדים. They have to focus and then sit down and be in a good state of mind, וטובי לב, and with their mind expanded, ומתבודדים, and outside society. They are having alone time, contemplation time. Maybe we could call it meditation in our terms. שאין הנבואה שורה, because we know that prophecy is not going to affect someone, לא מתוך עצבות, not if this person is depressed, ולא מתוך עצבות, not if this person is lazy, he's not activating his mind to its fullest, אלא מתוך שמחה, rather from some sort of happiness. But again, simcha here is being juxtaposed, is being contrasted to two things, to asvut and to atzlut. So simcha is not only happiness, it also means a happiness that brings about proactivity, that someone with energy. לפיכך, בני הנביאים, that's why the apprentices of prophecy, לפניהם נבל וטוף וחליל וכינור, they always had before them, as they were engaging in this meditative stage, they had instruments like a harp, or like what we call the oud today, that's the chinor, or tof, or some sort of a drum, the halil, the flute, and that's how they tried to get inspired to a point where they receive an actual nevuah. וזהו שנאמר והמה מתנבאים, and that's what it's described in the book of Shemuel when Shaul comes to these people per Shemuel's instructions. He sees that they are prophesying. What does it mean that he sees that they are prophesying? He sees that they are engaging in this very inviting sort of meditation with music, etc., in order to hopefully achieve a state of nevuah. כלומר, מהלכים בדרך הנבואה עד שינבאו, as if to say, they are going in this path until they receive נבואה, כמו שאתה אומר, פלוני מתגדל, like you can say about someone, this person is in search of greatness. It makes sense in Hebrew, I cannot translate it with any word to English, but מתגדל is someone who is trying to achieve גדולה. Like מתנבא is someone who is trying to achieve נבואה. אלו שהם מבקשים להתנבא, הם הנקראים בני הנביאים. People who try, who are going through the path of trying to achieve nevuah, first by refining their traits as a wise man and as a gibor, as someone who is very disciplined, and then by going into the pardes, attaining ruach hakodesh, and then inviting this nevuah to come, they are called bnei haneviim. Bene doesn't mean sons of. That's true entirely in the entire Tanakh. If you want, Moreh HaNevuchim, first part, 7th chapter, deals with this term. Ben in Tanakh can mean son or the consequence of, which could also mean the consequence of from the intellectual standpoint, namely the student of. So Bnei Hanevim is the students of the prophets. ואף על פי שמכוונים דעתן, and although they do everything right, they are ready, and they go through this process of trying to invite the נבואה, אפשר שתשרה שכינה עליהן, ואפשר שלא תשרה. It is possible for the Shekhinah, for the divine presence, another way of saying for God to activate their mind and send them a message, ואפשר שלא תשרה. It's possible that it's not going to come. In other words, although Ruach HaKodesh is sort of guaranteed, this supernatural perception and way of seeing things from a different vantage point, this inspiration, Nevuah is not. Actually receiving a direct message from God is not a given, even though you do everything right. If I were to give an example, like having a radio, you have to have it charged with sufficient battery. It has to be strong and healthy. By the way, just to make the point we said before we make, the person's body needs to be healthy, shalem begufo, because apparently nevuah is such a strong experience in the an electrical experience, but it necessitates the entire neurological system that we have, which takes over our entire body. As we know, we have neurons mostly in the brain, but we have neurons and we have nerves, which are neurons, through the rest of the body. And this experience, as we saw before, takes over the entire body. So if someone doesn't have a healthy and strong body, they will not be able to have such a powerful experience. This, by the way, is the reason why Rambam says Daniel, he hints to it, Daniel, who was a eunuch, Nebuchadnezzar had castrated him, as they used to do with all their servants, was not able to achieve a sufficiently high level of Nebuah to be called a Navi. So, although going through this entire process guarantees Ruach HaKodesh, it does not guarantee Nebuah. It's like having a radio. You have the right radio, you have the right battery, it's charged, then you tune it to try to receive a signal, but there may or may not be a message coming through. That's what this halakha is saying. יוד, כל הדברים שאמרנו הם דרך הנבואה לכל הנביאים הראשונים והאחרונים, חוץ ממשה, רבנו ורבן של כל הנביאים. All what we said is what's true about prophecy for all prophets, but for Moshe, Moshe is an exception, and he's our master and the master of all other prophets. ומה ההפרש שיש בין נבואת משה לשאר כל הנביאים? What is the difference between the prophecy of Moshe and the prophecy of the other prophets? שכל הנביאים בחלום או במראה, that all other prophets, they must experience this prophecy through a dream, the subconscious, that's when the brain is freest, או במראה, or through a vision that comes from a trance during the day by losing control of one's body. ומשה רבנו, but Moshe, our master, הוא ערב ועומד, he could actually be conscious and awake, שנאמר, as it is said, ובבוא משה אל אוהל מועד לדבר איתו וישמע את הכל מדבר אליו, and as Moshe would come to Ohel Moed. Ohel Moed was the innermost part of the Mishkan in the desert. That's where the Aron HaKodesh was, the Kerubim. And Moshe Rabbeinu, whenever he came to the Aron, the Torah says that Vayishma et hakol, he would hear the voice. In other words, he walked in, standing awake, and he would hear the voice. And then the pasuk continues, Vaydaber elav, and then Borei Olam would speak to him in that state of awareness, of consciousness. Kol hanevi'im al yedei malach. Another difference, very important. All prophets prophesize through, they receive this message through a messenger. So they communicate somehow, they perceive somehow something that is conveyed by an angel. That translates to an activation of their visual faculties in their subconscious. They are projected some kind of an image in their mind. They understand that, but it all comes from an angel, from a different dimension. ומשה רבנו, לא על ידי מלאך, but Moshe would not do this through an angel, שנאמר פל פה אדבר בו, because it's said about him, פל פה אדבר בו. God himself says, I speak to him mouth to mouth, face to face, mouth to mouth. In other words, God himself. ונאמר ודיבר אדוני אל משה פנים אל פנים. And it said also, God spoke to Moshe face to face, panim el panim, face to face. In other words, directly, without any intermediary. ונאמר ותמונת אדוני יביט. About Moshe it was also said that he was able to see the vision coming from God, directly from God. כלומר שאין שם משל. As if to say, there is no metaphor with Moshe. So again, when an angel speaks to a prophet, the angel activates the mind of the prophet, and together they create some sort of an image, of a vision, which is the metaphor, and the prophet, with his mind, understands the meaning of this image. With Moshe Rabbeinu, this wasn't the case. God communicated to Moshe the message directly, without any image, without any metaphor. אלא רואה הדבר על בוריו. Rather, Moshe Rabbeinu saw things clearly, בלא חידה, בלא משל, without a metaphor, without any parable. הוא שהתורה מעידה עליו, אף תתרסס ומראה ולא בחידות. When God was comparing Moshe to the other prophets to rebuke Aaron and Miriam, to show them that they are not like him, he said about Moshe that Moshe saw things very clearly and not in hints or in metaphors. שאינו מתנבא בחידה אלא במראה שרואה הדבר על בוריו, that Moshe Rabbeinu did not prophesy through metaphors, but clearly, a clear vision. He saw the thing itself, the message itself, clearly, cleanly, על בוריו. כל הנביאים יראים ונבהלים ומתמוגגים. Another difference, all prophets, when they have this prophecy, they have this terror. They are extremely afraid of this experience. Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't like that. וכשכתוב אומר, כאשר ידבר איש רעהו, and that's what the Torah means when it says, as a person speaks to his friend. What does it mean to his friend? God wasn't the friend of Moshe Rabbeinu, obviously, but it means to say that just like when a person speaks to his friend, it's a friendly conversation in the sense that the friend does not lose his mind. He's not afraid. So Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't afraid either. Like a person is not afraid from hearing when his friend talks to him. So was the mind of Moshe Rabbeinu able to perceive prophecies while he retained his entire composure. So all prophets cannot prophesy whenever they want. But Moshe Rabbeinu is not like this. Whenever he wants to, whenever he wants to, he is a radio that whenever it's tuned, it does receive a message, unlike the other Nevi'im. Furthermore, he doesn't need to prepare himself to further tune the radio to receive that message. He was in a constant tune, he was constantly attuned to hearing the message from God, just like angels who are not from this reality. That's why he was able to prophesy whenever he wanted. I think there is something here to do with not belonging to the dimension of time and space, therefore he could do this whenever he wanted. As Moshe Rabbeinu says to those people who came to ask him a question, wait here for me a second and let me just listen what God might prescribe to you. In other words, if Moshe Rabbeinu just wanted to listen, he'd know what God wanted. And this is exactly what God guaranteed about him. As it said, in Har Sinai, when Am Yisrael received the Torah and the entire nation was in a brief state of prophecy, Hashem says to Moshe, go and tell the people, go back to your tents. In other words, go back to your life, go out from your state of prophecy, and you, however, stay here with me. In other words, Hashem is guaranteeing that he will stay with him consistently and constantly from that moment and on. So you know now that just like Am Yisrael then, all prophets, when prophecy finishes, when prophecy ends and leaves the person's mind, they go back to their daily life, to their tent, that Aholam is actually a euphemism for their families and their intimate life, that is also a physical need, just like the rest of the people. That's why prophets continue being married. Moshe Rabbeinu, but Moshe, he never went back to his tent, again a euphemism. That's why after Har Sinai, Moshe Rabbeinu left his wife and all earthly things that are like having a wife. His mind was attached to the shelter, the eternal shelter, to God. And this splendor, this brightness, this clarity that he had never left him. בקרן אור פניו, as a consequence, he had some sort of a biological effect. And everyone who saw him could see that his face was shining in some way. ונתקדש כמלאכים, and distinguished himself to be like one of the angels. לפי מור הלכות, הנביא, אפשר שתהיה נבואתו לעצמו בלבד, להרחיב ליבו ולהוסיף דעתו, עד שידע מה שלא היה יודע מנתן הדברים הגדולים. There's two kinds of prophecies. One prophecy could be for informing the prophets about matters that are of his own personal interest. So a prophet is trying to investigate the limits of understanding. He reaches a certain point. He reaches the point of human understanding. He doesn't know what happens after the subatomic particles. He doesn't know, and he gets the nevuah. The nevuah could be some sort of a divinely inspired understanding that leads him to increase his own knowledge. ואפשר שישולח לעם מעמי הארץ או לאנשי עיר וממלכה לבונן אותם ולהודיעם מה יעשו. It could also be of the social kind. The nevuah could be with a message directed to a certain society, civilization, city, kingdom, to enlighten them and show them what they should do. או למנוע אותם ממעשים הרעים שבידיהם, or to prevent them from continuing certain bad behaviors. וכשמשלחין אותו נותנים לו אות ומופת כדי שידעו העם שהאל שלחו באמת. And as he receives this latter kind of nevuah, as he receives this prophecy, this message for this group of people, he will also be invested with some kind of a supernatural sign that he could use in order to show to people that he's truly a Navi. So for example, in this nevuah, he could also be told something that's going to happen in the future, so that when he comes with the message of what people should do, he should also show them that what he's saying comes from a true vision, as proven by what he saw about the future, that everyone can then prove or disprove. But not everyone who comes and does and has a sign or knows the future, we believe, we take it as fact that he is a prophet. It needs to be that we first have some sort of a basis to believe that this person was at all ra'ui lenevuah, that this person was what we described before. He was someone who was extremely wise, he was someone who was extremely disciplined, he was someone who knew everything that there is to know about Maaseh Bereshit and Maaseh Merkava. Only a person like that, if they come with a sign and say that they have a vision, maybe we'll believe him. But if a homeless person in Manhattan is screaming out of his lungs that tomorrow is going to rain and it rains, this doesn't mean that the person is a Navi. So we know his reputation precedes him, that he's above and beyond his years. So if someone has a reputation of being worthy of nevuah and then comes and does a sign, then we are commanded to listen to what he has to say. As it said, to this kind of person we should listen. It's also possible that the person does a sign, he brings about something that seems to us supernatural, and yet he's not a prophet. And there is something beyond what meets the eye in that which this person has done. Think David Copperfield or David Blaine or any of the other illusionists. They do things which some people might think are otot, but there is always an explanation to them. And even though when someone does a sign, there is always a possibility that this sign is just an illusion and is not something that comes from God. If the person, again, had a reputation of being worthy of having nevuah. Another footnote, Masechet Sukkah, Daf Kafhet, page 28, describes 20 of the 80 students of Hillel HaZaken as re'uyim shetifre alehem shechina kemoshe Rabbeinu, as being worthy of receiving shechina. So the explanation there this, by the way, is an allusion to that Gemara. Explanation there is that these 20 elite students of Hillel Hazaken that comprised what we know as Bet Hillel, if they came and did an ought, if they came with a sign, we'd believe them, we'd take them at their word. So, הואיל ואדם גדול הוא וחכם וראוי לנבואה, מעמידין אותו על חזקתו שבכך נסתווינו. Because this person has this reputation of being capable of being worthy of nevuah, then when such a person comes and does a sign, like one of the elite 20 students of Hillel Hazaken, we'd believe him שבכך נסתווינו, and not because we are 100% sure that the sign is true. We'll never be 100% sure, but this is what the Torah says. The Torah says, the same Torah that said you should not eat pork, tells you if a person who is worthy of nevuah comes and tells you something after having a sign, listen to them. Meaning, if this person tells you eat pork, we will eat pork this moment. Why? Because the same Torah that told us not to eat pork told us to believe this kind of person. כמו שנסתווינו לחתוך הדין על פי שיניים עדים כשרים בפי שאפשר שיעידו בשקר, just like we have this procedural tool of establishing facts by the testimony of two witnesses, although there is always a possibility that these two witnesses might be lying. It's not that we are trying to find the truth, we are trying to follow the procedures that Torah gave us. הואילו חותרים הם אצלנו מעמידין אותם על כפיתן. ובדברים האלו וכיוצא בהם נאמר, and about these things is what the Torah said, הנסתרות לאדוני אלוהינו והנגלות לנו לבנינו. When Moshe Rabbeinu signs the ratification of the covenants right before coming into Israel, Parashat Nisavim, he says, and don't worry guys, what I'm asking of you is to do what you can know, what you can be aware of. Don't be thinking of the things that you'll never know. So Rambam said this is one example of what Moshe was referring to. We do what we have access to. So we know that this person is worthy of nevuah. This person gave us a right sign. We'll never know if this person is lying or not lying, but that's for God. That is nistarot. That is beyond what we should try to know. ונאמר, כי האדם יראה לעיניים ואדוני יראה ללבב. It's also said, the Tanakh recognizes that man can only see with his eyes, and it's only God that can see what really lies in the hearts of people. So we are going to start now the second class.